Welcome to another episode of the MTL Sports Podcast. This is the crew for tonight. Your hosts, Markel and Lawrence. Now, for today's show, we will dive into the offensive side of the football. We got the top 10, ESPN's top 10 lists for positional rankings. We will dive into the running backs, receivers, the big boys, the O-linemen, the tight ends, and, of course, the good old quarterbacks. Then, for rapid fire, we will break down the Jets. The Jets are the new team that will be featured on Hard Knocks. Will Aaron Rodgers like it? And what are the new changes to the format? We will break that down for you. And something special, we will introduce a new segment. We have a little bit of trivia we will get into during rapid fire as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and let's go. So, of course, we said we're going to break down the ESPN's top 10 positional lists. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball for today's show. So let's start with tight ends is what I have pulled up first. I'm just going to read 1 through 10, and then we can just dive into the list and break them down. If we have any problems, issues, whatnot, we can go over those. Number 1 is probably not a shocker here. Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl champ. Number 2, George Kittle. Okay. George Kittle, number 2. Number 3, Mark Andrews from the Ravens. Number 4, Dallas Goedert, Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. Number 5, Darren Waller, New York Giants. Freshly traded to the Giants in the offseason. Number 6, Mr. TJ Hawkinson from the Vikings. Also, fresh off a trade during the middle of the season. Number 7, Kyle Pitts, going into his third year, right? Number 8, Evan Ingram, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 9, Pat Freiermuth. I hope I'm saying that right.
Freiermuth.
And good for him. And number 10, we have Dawson Knox, Buffalo Bills. So, Lawrence, I'll kick it off to you. Actually, no, wait, let's go with the honorable mentions. We have Dalton Schultz, freshly signed with the Texans. David Njoku from Cleveland. Noah Fant, Seattle. Tyler Higbee, Rams. I haven't heard that name in a while. Patriots, Hunter Henry. Cole Kmet, the Bears. And those are your honorable mentions. So now I'll throw it over to you, Lawrence. What are your thoughts? What are your takeaways? What are your issues with this list? We want to hear them all. The people want to hear them all.
I mean, okay, so to be fair, the list isn't bad. I just think there's certain players that are overrated, I guess a little overpriced, and some that are a little underwhelming. Like the top 3, just leave the top 3 alone. Those top 3 are the top 3 for a reason. Moving outside the top 3, Dallas Goedert, I can have him at 4 or 5. Like, perfectly fine with that. When he's healthy, like he was last year, because, I mean, I kind of go based on last year and the, years prior, but, we're trying to, we don't, in my opinion, when you make these kind of lists, it's going into the year, but you're basing it off their prior rapport, and they're also their last year's stats and numbers and everything. Yeah. Dallas Goedert finally had a year where he didn't get hurt, and he was really good. He showed out really well. So I think he was really good for the growth of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the big reasons why he grew so strong. My problem comes with Darren Waller. Man didn't play last year. He missed 14 games last year, okay? I mean, I get it. When a guy is good, you can include him on a list. But when you miss 14 games and there's an 18-game season, you can't include them on a list. And I'm not trying to, crap on Darren Waller or anything, but you don't have the same rights as the guy right below you, TJ Hawkinson, who he was doing really good with the Lions. Took a few weeks, and then really kind of just fit right in with the Vikings.
Go.
So he should be higher than you. Kyle Pitts, I mean, my only issue with Kyle Pitts is kind of the same thing. He's kind of hurt all the time, in and out of the lineup, hurt. But, like, he doesn't score touchdowns. And, like, when I think of a tight end, I want my tight end to be effective in the red zone. He's just one of those tight ends that doesn't seem to be effective in the red zone. But for this, I'll keep him where he is, 7th or 8th. Evan Ingram, he's like the complete opposite of Kyle Pitts. He's like barely relevant going down the field, and then you get into the red zone. Man just knows how to catch interceptions. Just knows how to catch touchdowns in the end zone. So the man just is great at what he does, which is catching touchdowns in the end zone, which is what you want a tight end to do. So I can move Evan Ingram above Kyle Pitts. I can move below Kyle Pitts, but he's going to be around the same thing like they have it with Kyle Pitts. Now the real beast starts with Pat Freiermuth being at 9.
Okay.
I think he should be higher.
Mm.
In my opinion, he should be above Waller. Waller doesn't even deserve to be in the top 10. So we're just going to move everyone up one. I think I would put Freiermuth above Kyle Pitts because Freiermuth catches touchdowns. Freiermuth, if you know him in fantasy at all, I don't know the reason I know him in fantasy at all. I don't really play fantasy, but I always dabble in it. Dude, he gets you about 11, 12 points a week, which is important because, that means he's consistent. And he's like the staple of consistency. He plays every game. He is effective every single game. And, he's one of those tight ends that, you always see him making plays. He's always getting you out of a certain situation. He was kind of a go-to on third down. That's kind of something you can't say about some of the other guys that are on the list. Like, is he my go-to? That's also because the Steelers had a lot of young talent, which shouldn't be, a fault to him. That should be a plus to him. So that just kind of goes to my adding of he should be higher. And then Dawson Knox. This one is where I get a little bit more yes, no, I don't know. Because I think, in my opinion, I'd rather have Njoku or Schultz in front of him. I think I'd rather take either one of them above Dawson Knox. Yeah. I just feel like I don't even know if it's his fault. I really don't know if it's his fault. But there's so many Bills games in which you watch, and he's irrelevant. He didn't play any role in the game at all. And I've said it before. It's like Gabe Davis. There's like certain games where those two guys are just irrelevant the whole game, and it's just the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs show. And then Isaiah McKenzie, Dawson Knox, and Gabe Davis take their turns every other game trying to make things happen. But in my opinion, like, he's never a consistency every single week. So why he's in the top 10, I don't know. When Dalton Schultz, outside of CeeDee Lamb, was like the most consistent thing that Dak Prescott had. And with Njoku, I wouldn't say he's the most consistent thing or anything, but dude, the dude gets touchdowns. He gets touchdowns. And in a league where a lot of things matter about touchdowns, matter about points you get, Njoku gets touchdowns. And that just means you're effective where you want a tight end to be effective at. He's a good run blocker. Nick Chubb obviously gets wide open lanes, rushing to the end of the tight end for reasons. That's just my opinion. I mean, you can disagree or not, but I just think based on last year's and years prior, we've seen kind of a regression of Darren Waller. So why we're putting him in the top 10, especially after missing 14 games, doesn't make any sense. And maybe I'm a little harsh on Kyle Pitts, but when I think of a tight end, most of the time you think of like tight ends are the guy you go to on third down, or tight ends are the guy that scores a lot of touchdowns because he's a big guy and he gets open where you need him to get open. And Kyle Pitts is literally the opposite of both. He really is effective on first and second down, and he's never effective in the red zone. And which is why everyone always argues in fantasy. They're like, oh, yeah, I might draft Kyle Pitts, but it doesn't give me any points. Because they'll have like 4 receptions the whole game, and they were good for 60 to 80 yards, but no real value behind them.
I agree. I think I'm right there with you. Having Waller at 5 is a little disappointing. His season was disappointing, like you said. He missed 14 games. I don't see how you can have the guy in the top 10. Well, if you do, he should be like 10, and then move a couple of these guys up. Yeah, because I feel like TJ Hawkinson should definitely be at least like a top 5. Like he played well in Detroit, and then he played like you said, he like fit like a puzzle piece, like right into the Vikings, and like picked up right where he left off. Like there was no drop off of production, even though he was traded like halfway through the season. Still put up big numbers. Was a huge target for Kirk Cousins. Gave JJ some relief when he was getting double team every single play. So I like that, but other than that, I don't have too much gripes with this list. Dawson Knox, like you said, probably shouldn't be on the list either. He should be an honorable mention, and then one of these honorable mention guys, whatever one I guess you prefer from Schultz or Njoku, or even I guess Font to a degree, but I feel like Gino doesn't really target him too much. So
Well, the only thing with Fant is he's good, but the problem with Fant, he's got 2 wide receivers that are better than him. And,
yeah,
arguably one of his wide receivers is more physical and more powerful than he is. No offense to Fant, but DK Metcalf's a freak of nature. So
that's a big boy.
So
and this year they have a third guy who definitely is going to take even more touches away from him. So I wouldn't expect him to be on this list next year. If he is, he's probably going to be at the very bottom of the honorable mentions, or like one of those tight ends that's like, receive votes or whatever.
Yeah, for me, I would have taken out Waller, and I would have taken out Dawson Knox, and obviously I'm not plugging in someone in the place of Waller. I'm just move people up and move people around. But I would have included Njoku, and I would have included Schultz in the top 10. Maybe they didn't include Schultz in the top 10 because, it is something that's going on into this year. So they think the Texans are going to be, not a poverty franchise or anything to say that, but they're just not going to be, as competitive each week, which, could hurt their stock. But my only other gripe to that is, the best thing you can do for a young quarterback is get him a good tight end that can catch a ball whenever you need him to. And Dalton Schultz is a really effective 50-50. I really need a play on third down kind of tight end. So I feel like he's going to get a lot of targets from Stroud. He's going to be kind of his like safety blanket. And also being the fact that like he doesn't have any outstanding wide receivers either. So he really kind of needs a mismatch. And Dalton Schultz can definitely mismatch again in a few games with linebackers.
Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about the tight ends. The top 3 I have no problem with. So moving on, we have running backs. Same thing. I'm going to read through the top 10 and some of the honorable mentions, and then we can break it down for the crew back at home, whoever's listening. So number 1, we have Nick Chubb. Number 2, we have Christian McCaffrey, 49ers. Number 3, Josh Jacobs, Raiders. Number 4, Saquon, Giants. Number 5, we got Derrick Henry of the Titans. Number 6, Jonathan Taylor. Number 7, Palmera with the Saints. Number 8, Dalvin Cook is a free agent right now, as of this recording. Number 9, we got Tony Pollard, Cowgirls. And number 10, we got Austin Eckler of the Chargers. And for our honorable mentions, ladies and gentlemen, we have Aaron Jones, Green Bay Packers. Okay, Damian Pierce, Houston Texans. Okay. Breece Hall from the New York Jets. Travis Etienne, Jacksonville. Ramondre Stevenson, New England. Kenneth Walker III, Seattle. And even if you look at the receiving votes, like Javonte Williams, Denver, Najee Harris, Pittsburgh, which is surprising. I thought he would have cracked top 10. Miles Sanders and AJ Dillon, Green Bay. Makes sense. What do we think about? First, we'll start with the top three, and then we can kind of break down the rest of the list. But do you think they get the top three correct? Like in terms of those are the people you want and the correct rankings. Like, how do we feel about that? Because I think there should be some rearranging.
Oh, in my opinion, I like the top two, right? I think Nick Chubb at number one is completely fine. Um, yeah, you can argue a different one way or another about the idea of Nick Chubb, but my opinion on it goes, I think McCaffrey is a better player than Nick Chubb, but as a running back, and the typical definition of said running back, I think Nick Chubb is better going through the tackles. I think Nick Chubb's better going through the middle. I think Nick Chubb is better at getting the ball tossed to him out of the backfield. But if I'm going to do a screenplay, I'd rather have McCaffrey. If I'm doing a play action, I think I'd rather have McCaffrey. If I need a drop down back, like a guy to drop a ball off to, like, I'm going to be looking down the field, and then I just need to toss a ball 3 yards to the running back to try to get, 10 yards, on like a first or a second down to make it short and manageable. I'd rather have McCaffrey. So I think that both of those, they do the perfect difference. They're like the perfect equilibrium of each other, which also makes it quite questionable. Like, dang. So like Kamara and McCaffrey had the longest deals. They're also like the two highest paid. But Nick Chubb is technically, in some people's eyes, better. And regardless if you think he is or not, like Nick Chubb is still a top three in my opinion. So man's not getting paid like top three, but he's also one of the running backs not complaining. So I think he knows that at the current moment, maybe he thinks right now is a good time for him to keep it on the wraps, keep it on the down low. But maybe in a year or two, we're going to hear something from Chubb. But I think it's fine. Now, if you were to tell me McCaffrey at 1 and Chubb at 2, I'm okay with that as well. I think you can flip-flop it, and it just goes based on whatever you think is more, I guess, effective, or what you want to call a running back. But regardless, I think those are the top two. I still think Derrick Henry should be 3. In my opinion, just how important, impactful, and important like one running back is to an entire team. Like when you talk about the Titans, right? Who's the first thing you think of when you think of Titans? First thing you think of Titans is Derrick Henry. Now, when you talk the Raiders, what's the first thing you think of? Mine is Devontae Adams. So, first thing I think of with the Raiders is wide receiver, because they have arguably the best wide receiver on the team. So, only reason I would put Henry above Josh Jacobs is the fact that Henry is his team. Jacobs is just a good addition to his team. Do I think the Raiders would win without Jacobs? No. Do I think the Titans would even have playoff chances without Henry? Hell no. So in terms of effectiveness to their team, I think Henry just has a little bit more value, whether that's a good thing or not. Like, they put way too much weight into him. But I would put Henry above him. I'd probably keep Jacobs at 5, and I think I would have put Saquon Barkley at 4. I think I would have leapfrog. Well, I think Saquon would stay where he is. I think I would just change Henry and Josh. It's not that I don't like Josh. I just think certain teams without the running back are just completely ineffective. Like, I don't think the Giants are going to win very many games or be very good without Saquon. I don't even think the Titans can even have a chance at the playoffs without Henry. If you look at the Raiders, they still have a good wide receiving core outside of, at the end of the day. So, and those other two teams, before D-Hop came there, they didn't have any wide receivers. The Giants still don't have any wide receivers. And then the top two, I mean, I guess they have Amari Cooper, but I don't take as much stock in Amari Cooper as I once did. And the 49ers are just a juggernaut on offense, so they're just like that outlier. in my opinion. They just have everything somehow under all that cap space. You know what I mean? 49ers have such a good team for what the cap space is, which makes you wonder in 2 years how that team's even going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm thinking I'm switching Chubb and Jacobs. I think Jacobs leading the league in rushing after a lot of people kind of like not I don't want to say wrote him off, but definitely I think people were because like last year's ranking, for example, he was an honorable mention. Like to go from honorable mention to leading the league in rushing, I think that says a lot. Um, I mean, it was a contract year for him, so you know a lot of guys do overperform when they want their contract. It's very well known. But I mean, the Raiders without Jacobs, they probably wouldn't even have won as many games as they did. And I know Devontae Adams is arguably the best receiver in football, but I just remember in the beginning there was some struggles with him. Like him and Derek Carr were not on the same page in the beginning, and they didn't click. Mm-hmm. They clicked for games, but I don't think they clicked for long stretches. And I feel like for those stretches where Carr and Devontae weren't clicking, I think Jacobs was like the workhorse, like he was a team on offense, and the guy can run between tackles. You can run off tackle. You can catch the football well. You break tackles, very elusive. Overall, just a good back. So I think if you lead the league in rushing, you have a lot of all-purpose yardage. I think he deserves to be number one. I think McCaffrey, you said it well. He just does everything. Probably like the best player. Like if we were doing best players, he would probably be number one. But like at number two, it's in a disservice for him just because his team is so good. Like overall, his team is really good. So, and he still can produce even with all the talent around him. So that just shows like how good of a running back, a player he is. So I'm keeping him at 2, Pitt and Chubb at 3. The Browns, they have some weapons on offense, not to the degree of San Francisco, of course not, but he's just a good back every single year. I don't feel like anyone else on this list can compare to him in terms of like just being consistently like a really good running back. I'm probably leaving the rest of the list where it is. Like I'm cool with Saquon at 4. Henry, he is the Titans. For me, he's staying at 5.
So here comes my gripe. I don't think Jonathan Taylor, outside of that 1 year, I don't. He was hurt last year. Like he was freaking hurt all the time. And it's not like the games he even wasn't hurt in, like he did anything. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the argument of pushing him further down the list. I'm also in the argument of kind of leaving Kamara off this list just based on how much he was hurt last year and how I wouldn't say ineffective he was, but like he wasn't Kamara last year. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to say it.
Like, yeah, that's true.
He wasn't Kamara, and then the only reason I have gripes on those is Austin Eckler literally was the Chargers, and he's at 10. He literally was the Chargers. Now, if they wrote in this little snippet, he's an elite offensive talent, I would understand. But the fact that his highest rank ever has been 6 last year, he was an honorable mention. I'm sorry, Austin Eckler deserves to be ahead of Jonathan Taylor and Kamara based on last year's, based on prior years a little bit. You're going to equate that because Jonathan Taylor's had 1 year. But, Austin Eckler's had 3 at this point. So these are little things for me. They're just like, I'm not getting what they're putting down. Tony Pollard, I think, does deserve it at 9. I think Dalvin Cook is arguably maybe on the borderline of not making it. And the only reason, because the rest of these guys are on the honorable mentions I have no problem with. But the only guy I kind of want to put on the list is Aaron Jones. But I think the reason they let them off the list is because he shares the load with Dylan. But I'm sorry, he's just so effective even with Dylan there. So you're telling me they have...
That's definitely the reason why they did that.
you have a dual threat at running back, but my starting running back still gets 1,100 yards. He on 213 carries. That's a 5.3 average. What the? That's insane. If you can finish a year with over 5 yards per carry, that's insane. You can finish a year over 5 yards per carry, and then you don't make the top 10. That's also insane to me as well. So, and I think that's the reason why I might, move, either Jonathan Taylor just because he was hurt all last year's season off, or, move off Alvin Kamara just because he wasn't Kamara last season. I mean, it literally says on here, he hasn't eclipsed 900 yards rushing the last 2 seasons. Kamara, I think we're still going off the basis of Kamara from his prior years, but people get older, and just because they're not as effective as they once were back in the day doesn't mean they're a scrub or anything, but it also doesn't mean that they're top 10. So I just think that it's an injustice not to include a guy who had over 5 yards per carry on a top 10 list when literally that's what the whole thing's about, is carrying the ball.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know about injustice, a little strong, but he made the honorable mention, so maybe he'll prove us wrong. Moving on to the offensive linemen, we probably have less to say about this. The big boys, they put in a lot of work, but they're not the prettiest position or, prettiest thing to look at while we're watching football. But for number 1, they have Trent Williams, 49ers. Number 2, Laramie Tunsil, Texans. Number 3, Tristan Wirfs. I guess I'm saying this right. Wirfs, Tampa Bay.
I think it's Wirfs.
Number 4, Lane Johnson from the Eagles. Number 5, Jordan Malata, Eagles. Hope I'm saying that right. Number 6, Penei Sewell, Lions. Number 7, Andrew Thomas, Giants. Number 8, Rashawn Slater, Los Angeles Chargers. Number 9, we have Christian Darrisaw, Vikings. And for number 10, to round off the list, we have Colton Miller, Las Vegas. And then for our honorable mentions, we have Ryan Ramczyk, I hope I'm saying it right, from New Orleans. Taron Armstead, Miami. David Bakhtiari, I hope I'm saying that right, Packers. Brian O'Neill, Vikings. Tyron Smith, Cowboys. And then I'm not going through the honorable mentions, but any problems with the big boys? 1 through 10 honorable mentions. And just want to clarify, I think this is all offensive linemen, so guards, tackles, centers, I think all that good stuff. So just tackles. So tackles. My bad.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't pay enough attention to offensive lines. I pay more attention to them as a unit than individual, guys. So with that being said, I don't really have a problem with the list. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to believe that there's 2 Eagle players on both sides of the tackle that are that effective. I don't know if it's just a little bit of overzealous putting them so high because they went to the Super Bowl, but maybe their stock is really that high. I don't know.
Their line is pretty good. I mean, Sanders was running 3 yards before he got touched.
But I think they also benefit from the fact that they have a rushing quarterback, so that he doesn't get sacked as much. He can always get himself out of troubles if he needs to. No, I don't really have a problem with the list. I think I would have had a problem with the list if a Tyron Smith had made it. Mainly because he missed a lot of games last year. He's getting older. If Bakhtiari had made the top of the list, but he was hurt all last year. Certain players had made it, I think I would have had a problem. But I'm pretty much okay with it. It's pretty well thought out, though.
Good. Let's move on to the guards and centers. So, same thing, 1 through 10. Starting at 1, we have Zach Martin, guard, Dallas Cowboys. Number 2, Joey Thuney, Kansas City. Number 3, we have Quentin Nelson, Indianapolis Colts guard. Number 4, Elkton Jenkins guard, Green Bay Packers. Number 5, Joel Bettino guard, Cleveland Browns. Number 6, we got the other Kelsey brother, Jason Kelsey, center, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 7, we got Chris Lindstrom, guard, Atlanta Falcons. Number 8, we have Creed Humphrey, center, Kansas City. Number 9, Brandon Sheriff, guard, Jacksonville. And closing out the top 10, we have Frank Ragnow, center, Detroit Lions. And then just some of the honorable mentions they have down here. Eric McCoy, center from New Orleans. Trey Smith, guard, Kansas City. Landon Dickerson, guard, Philadelphia. Corey Lindsley, center, Chargers. Wyatt Teller, guard, Browns. And Mike Onwenu, guard, New England. How do we feel about this top 10? I feel like I'm on the same page as the last one. I don't have any problems, especially if Zach Martin's number 1. That's all I needed to see.
Yeah, I don't have much problems with it. I think it's just hard to have gripe because you already know who the best guys are in the league. In my opinion, though, I think I would have rather have seen Mike Onwenu from the Patriots up higher. Just because, in my opinion, he's like the epitome of a Belichick guy. Not drafted high or anything, but fills out his role effectively. I just think that he doesn't get enough love, but he's also on a team that doesn't give a lot of love out. So, most of their guys are come in, do my job, go home, count of bodies, and I think that's just the epitome of what he is. He never misses games. He's always that's just how I look at it. And some of those guys in the top 10 are been in and out of lineups, like with injuries and whatnot. Like Frank Ragnow, he gets hurt every once in a while. Chris Lindstrom, he gets hurt every once in a while. There's just certain players like they're kind of in and out of the lineup, and another thing in offensive line is like consistency of being in the lineup every other day. So, but no, not really. I mean, other than maybe try to include him, but the fact that they put him in honorable mentions is kind of okay with me. It's kind of hard to want to fight for offensive lines and have a lot of hot goss back and forth with each other over offensive linemen.
Yeah, especially if, I didn't play offensive lineman. I had friends that did in high school, but I didn't play offensive lineman. I knew all the plays, but I can't really break down offensive lineman. I'm not going to act like I can. So moving on, we will tackle the quarterbacks. Second to last of the positional rankings. 1 through 10, and the number 1 won't be a surprise. We got Patty Mahomes, Kansas City. Number 2, we got Joey Burrow, Cincinnati. Number 3, we got Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. At number 4, Aaron Rodgers, New York Jets. At number 5, we have Justin Herbert from the Chargers. Number 6, we got Jalen Hurts. Number 7, we got Lamar Jackson. Number 8, we have Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Number 9, we got Dak from the Cowgirls. And number 10, this might be a little controversial, but Matthew Stafford from the Rams. And some of the honorable mentions, we have Massage Boy, Deshaun Watson.
Wow.
We got Kirk Cousins. Vikings. We got Jared Goff. He had a little resurgence for the Lions.
A little.
So good to see him there. Derek Carr. He had a little falling out party with the Raiders, but now he's a Saint. Tua Tagovailoa, Miami. I'm not gonna make a joke about him. I'll probably get canceled. So let's break down the top 10, all right, for the viewers. I'm pretty sure we don't have a problem with number 1 and 2, but just in case we do,
you wanna you wanna get to the problem with the list, or me? Who wants to get into it first?
yeah, let's just get to the problem because I'm pretty sure.
Okay, on the count of 3, we're just gonna say the number that gets us grinds the most gears. All right, you got 1, 2, 3, 5.
10?
What? Okay.
You have a
Okay.
problem?
I mean,
You have a problem with Herbie?
yeah, Herbert's not 5. Herbert's not 5. No, Herbert's not 5. No.
I mean, if you look at the other guys, I guess so. Yeah.
Herbert hasn't won a playoff game, first off. So, I'm sorry, Herbert has so much like stock and clout, like saying that he's so good and everything. He's made the playoffs once so far. He then was a part of blowing one of the biggest leads of all time in the playoffs. Probably one of the best choke jobs of all time, outside of the Super Bowl, that is. Jalen Hurts made the Super Bowl, so how he's below Herbert, I don't know. Lamar Jackson, I can arguably say Lamar should be below him because Lamar did miss a lot of games last year.
Yep.
But I'm also going to say on the borderline that we've been taking that not into effect as much. So I still would have rather had Lamar Jackson than Herbert. I would much rather have Trevor Lawrence, who won that said playoff game, than Herbert. All it showed was that you give Trevor Lawrence a respectable coach, that he's a completely different quarterback. And I'm sorry, but Herbert hasn't had a trash coach like Lawrence for the last 2 years. But Dak, I'm okay with Dak being at 9. And then, like you just said, 10. Yeah, 10. He got to get the fuck out of there.
I don't understand how a guy can be in the top 10. He barely played. Like, bro, don't make any sense. Come on. I do have a problem with Herbie. He definitely should be like
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Probably put Trevor up, move Lamar up. Well, actually, probably keep Lamar where he is. Probably just move Jalen. Jalen needs to be in the top 5.
Jalen needs to be top 5. I think I keep Lamar where he is. In my opinion, I think I put Trevor Lawrence above Lamar and Herbert just because of what happened in the playoffs, and just because he made the playoffs and he didn't miss a single game. And 1 year with a good coach, he was completely a 180 quarterback. So I think just for those reasons, he deserves to be ranked higher.
Yeah, I think we have to move. We probably have to put Jared Goff into the top 10. I feel like he had a really good season. He had a damn good season. He needs to be at 10.
Yeah, Jared Goff needs to be 10. I'm glad you agree with that one. I was gonna try to fight you over it.
I agree.
Other than that, I think the only other person that deserves to be in the top 10. Okay, first off, Deshaun Watson doesn't even deserve to be in the honorable mentions. He didn't even play very good last year. It's not even a joke to his massage therapy, whatever. Dude, he didn't even freaking play good last year.
Yeah, he only played he came back in week 13.
Week 13.
He only played 5 games,
and he wasn't very good.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. I don't know. I don't know the who's making these lists. What are their credentials, and what are the what are the categories? What are we rating these quarterbacks on? Is it strictly just last season, or is it just talent? I don't know. Can't get a feel. It changes from list to list. I feel like some of the lists are talent based, and then the other ones are strictly last year. It's not consistent.
Nope, it's not at all. But that's a big what the heck to me is him being in the honorable mentions. And I think Kirk Cousins should be the first man in that top 10. If one of those top 10s was out, I think Kirk Cousins deserves to be in that first slot. I think Kirk Cousins gets a lot of hate, and
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. But at least you know what you're getting. He's gonna get you basically to the playoffs. He's gonna get you a playoff win, but he gets you to the playoffs.
If you're okay with that, if you're okay with getting the possibility of getting a home playoff game so you can get some extra revenue, I guess you can be okay with that.
Yeah.
If you're an owner GM. Other than that, I don't have a problem with the list. Top everyone else stay where they're at. All right, let's get rid of the wideouts. They're the last group, the last position group we have. Number 1, JJ from the Vikings. No shock there. Number 2, Devontae Adams, Las Vegas Raiders. Number 3, Jamar Chase, Cincy. Number 4, Tyreek Hill, Miami. Number 5, Cooper Kupp, Rams. Number 6, Stephon Diggs, Buffalo. Number 7, we got AJ Brown from Philly. 8, we have DK, Seattle. Okay. Number 9, we got Scary Terry McLaurin, Washington Commanders. And rounding out the top 10, we got CD Lamb, also known as No Hands, Dallas Cowgirls. And then honorable mentions, we got a lot of good guys here. We got Debo, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. That's it. I mean, they got a whole bunch of receiving votes, but overall, good list. I'm not gonna. I think the only thing for this list, I feel like you have to move Cooper Kupp into Stephon, like just switch him into Stephon Diggs. I can't have a guy in the top 5 who barely played too. You can't be in the top 5 you barely played. So I'm moving those. I'm switching those two. Probably put AJ Brown above him too. So maybe slide Cooper to like 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with the list, right? Because Metcalf can't really get any higher because he's with Lockett. And, Lockett's just a monster in his own right. So it's kind of harder for him to get higher. My only beef, and it may feel like a shock to you, but Terry McLaurin, I feel like,
Terry
has a great argument to be top 6. I think, in my opinion, I would have put him above AJ Brown. And it's not a knock on AJ Brown. It's just that AJ Brown is with a guy who's literally 5 rows into honorable mentions. So they got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown splitting amongst each other, while McLaurin, he's not by himself. We're not going to lie and say he's by himself, but
he has Dotson, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, his 2 best talents outside of him are slot guys, and no offense to them, but they're slot guys. They're not outside threats, which is probably his problem. He's the only outside threat. And dude, he's got 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with 3 different quarterbacks. And he's
bad quarterbacks, yeah.
And he's got no quarterbacks. And he's always on the game. He's never hurt. So that's my only beef. Is I'd rather see McLaurin like top 6. I'd rather see him above AJ Brown. And it's not because I think AJ Brown's a bum or anything. It's just because AJ Brown's got Devontae Smith stealing some of his workload, so which isn't allowing him to look as great as Scary Terry. But dude, Scary Terry's best quarterback, arguably the last few years, is Heineke, and that's not that good.
Yeah,
he's still getting 1,000 yards.
Yeah. I think my only thing with Scary Terry is he just doesn't get in the end zone as much. Like last year, he only had 5 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure AJ Brown had way more than that. So I can see why they put AJ Brown ahead of him. Let me actually look it up right now. If we're going to compare touchdowns, I mean yardage is probably similar, but I feel like just like them finding themselves in the end zone, I feel like AJ Brown just did a better job.
Yeah, and that's no knock on Scary
11.
Terry. Yeah,
11-5. AJ had almost 1,500 yards, and he had almost 1,200 for Terry McLaurin. So, I mean, if you're going to base off last year and stats and all that, then yeah, I mean, Scary Terry probably needs to fall back I'm not pitting him above AJ, but I see what you're saying. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
is pretty hard for a guy to like consistently have 1,000-yard seasons with like three different quarterbacks, and they're like all being shuffled around. That's just hard because like if you ever play receiver or if you ever watch them, quarterback and receivers need to have like chemistry. Like if they don't have chemistry, the timing is going to be off. They're not going to be able to fill each other out. Won't be able to like just have like just like that just connection that you need to be like a good QB wide receiver tandem. So for him to be able to do that, I feel like it's really impressive.
Yeah, and I think that's if he had a decent quarterback like AJ Brown, he would have had way more. And that you brought that up, like I'm actually interested to see how many touchdowns Dotson had last year. Like, oh man, Dotson had to have a lot because I remember he was scoring a lot of touchdowns, and that was because like when you get in the end zone, let's just double team McLaurin, and then you just leave Dotson wide open.
He had two more, say it's 7, which is
7.
not bad. He was a rookie too, so
Yeah.
7 touchdowns as a rookie isn't bad. Averaged 15 yards per catch, basically. So not bad as a rookie. Caught 35 balls. Like the Commanders' receiving core isn't bad. They're decent. Scary Terry is definitely the star wideout. Everyone else though, I don't have a problem with.
I just feel bad for McLaurin because now he's got to go in another year with Sam Howell, right?
Yeah, that's their projected starter.
It's kind of sad. Maybe hopefully he gets another 1,000 yards.
Just keep putting up numbers. Maybe you can eventually get out of Washington if they don't turn stuff around.
Yep, you can become a DJ Moore, Finally get out of Carolina. After putting up 1,000-yard seasons every year.
Oh, man. Well, ladies and gents, that is the end of the ESPN's top 10 positional list. We covered defense, and now this episode, we just finished the offensive side of the football. So coming up next, we have Rapid Fire. Ladies and gents. So this is our Rapid Fire segment. Now, for today's Rapid Fire, we have some hard knock lives that we live.
It's a hard knock life.
No, just kidding. We have the New York Jets as the newest team that will be featured on NFL's Hard Knocks. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. Now, all of you are probably saying, hey, it's probably the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers. You're probably right. But Aaron Rodgers has shown already some displeasure in having to be featured on it. So I guess this kind of leads to the upcoming changes for the season, which apparently will include less access to the team, whatever that means. So I'm guessing from what I've been hearing, apparently they won't have some of these scenes where some of these guys get cut or let go or whatever. Some things along those lines. So, Lawrence, how do we feel about, number one, the Jets being featured on Hard Knocks, and number two, with them kind of doing some changes to how much access they're giving the cameras? How are we feeling?
So, I mean, I was under the impression that there was other teams who had to go on Hard Knocks before the Jets did. I thought there was like 4 teams. And there's a post on The Athletic that there was 4 teams that were technically that haven't gone on Hard Knocks yet. Obviously, I don't pay for The Athletic, so I can't read it. But I didn't think the Jets were on there because I remember back in the day, the most infamous scene ever is when the Jets guy goes to type in his code, and he's typing in his code, and he goes to open the door and it doesn't work, and he types his code in again, it doesn't work, and he goes, "They cut me, they cut me," and he's like shouting at some guy inside. So, like, maybe that's why they have it a little bit more strict, because they are pretty much known for one of the most infamous cuttings. Like, they didn't even tell this guy he got cut. He just showed up at the facility and he was cut. So maybe that's why? I don't know. I mean, I can also see why Aaron Rodgers had beef with it. Like, dude, I just joined this new team, and now you're going to put me on Hard Knocks. So, like, you have to, like, basically not control my life, but you have to like come and mess up my groove that I'm going to be in, trying to bond with new players on this old team. And I'm like, what, 40 years old? Like, come on, dude, leave me alone at this point in my career. So, I mean, I can see his beef with it. I mean, obviously. So, I mean, I've always thought that Hard Knocks is a little bit of a joke. I don't think I've ever watched Hard Knocks since I've been out of high school. Um, so to go further into it after that, I mean, I can't. I just haven't watched it in so long because one, I don't want to pay for HBO. Two, I don't. If I do have
It's valid.
HBO, I'm watching Peacekeeper or something before I'm watching Hard Knocks. So gotta watch my boy John Cena.
Very true. Yeah, I feel like Aaron Rodgers he has very valid reasons to have some beef with Hard Knocks and HBO. Like you said, like if there's at least 4 other teams that haven't been on the show yet, like just because like you're traded doesn't mean you have to come and mess with me and get on my nerves. Now I know he loves to, talk to Pat and be on Pat's show every Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah, every
But I mean
Tuesday.
that's every Tuesday or whatever. But doesn't mean he wants to be on Hard Knocks. Cameras up in his face, asking a bunch of dumb questions, crap you probably already know. You're just gonna like irritate him or whatever. Aaron's just weird, so I don't know.
And
I
when he
know.
goes on Pat's show, like they don't ask him anything. He gives not a script, but Pat and them are going to ask him like a question that he's not going to want to answer or an uncomfortable
Yeah,
question, especially with AJ Hawk there. Nah, they ain't going to do that because the only reason he is there because is AJ Hawk. So
yeah, and I feel like other than the Aaron, like I feel like the Jets is gonna be boring. Like the only, they have a bunch of studs. Like the team is stacked, but I feel like they don't really have any like outgoing personalities that make you want to go, oh, I gotta watch Hard Knocks. So and so is gonna, you're gonna go crazy this episode. Like no, I'd rather just if I was NFL, I'd rather just show off another team that hasn't seen a spotlight yet, even if they are one. Like if those 4 teams are just gonna be bad next season, who cares? Like at least
my,
show them. I don't know.
I don't know. In my opinion, I think you should pick teams with a little bit more chemistry. So that way you can have something like to record about, like some actual like I guess bonds. Like the team that I can't understand who's not on Hard Knocks is like the Bengals. The Bengals should be on Hard Knocks. They should
A
be the
couple of
team
years
on
ago.
Hard Knocks. Another team that should be on Hard Knocks, like the Eagles, should be on Hard Knocks. Um, the 49ers, I think that would be way more entertaining to put on Hard Knocks. But like, there's
Yes.
just more teams that I think that are more entertaining to put on Hard Knocks, especially the 49ers with all that offensive talent that they have. It's just incredible. And it's not hard to believe that like their defense, even though it doesn't have the same amount of like talented guys on it as the offense, but when you're lined up against that offense every single week on the practice field, shit, you're gonna get good. You're gonna get good.
Yeah.
So
It would just be, yeah, like I said, it would be good to watch. I don't have a problem with them like restricting some of the stuff we see. Like some of the stuff can get emotional. Like I don't want to see like 20 guys get cut like every other episode. Like I feel like that's just like, damn, you like start feeling for people like, damn, he should have made it, or damn, he should have made it. I don't know. I feel like that stuff is just a little too much myself. I don't want to. I don't mind seeing like 1 or 2 players getting cut, but I feel like they usually like I haven't been watching it a long time, but from what I remember, they would just show like almost everyone getting cut. I'm not trying to see that, bro.
yeah, I don't even know why you have to do that to someone either. It's like the guys getting cut. That's not like they're stars or anything. No, dude, they're they're probably some of the more down to earth players too. And I don't know, it's
It's
kind of sad to say,
embarrassing
but
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
their next step is going to the XFL or Canadian football now to try to keep it going. Maybe a few more years, see if they can get back
Yeah.
to the ultimate point.
Yeah, it's just embarrassing. Like you're on TV, you working your tail off, and you just get cut like the first or second episode. Like that's not cool. Like your family has to see that, and then you go back to your hometown or whatever, then people making fun of you or whatever. Like, I don't know. That's not. I don't think that stuff is cool. But
Yeah, dude, especially since like I at least made it to that point. I mean, I get it. They had to cut like 40 something people, but dude, I made it to a 90-minute NFL roster. I mean, that's better than anything we've ever done. So, but then
this is
people
true.
still shit on them. So I don't really
People,
understand that.
yeah, on social media, and even like people in your hometown still gonna shit on you, like, oh, you didn't make it, or just like your haters. Like, people are gonna hate you no matter what, but especially in your hometown, people just get jealous of you anyway. So I feel for people. Let's get on to trivia. This is a new part of Rapid Fire. I guess I'll go first. We're just gonna do one trivia question each. It has to be sports related. Can be any sport, since we covered pretty much every sport here on the podcast. My topic is NBA. So my question for you is, Victor Wembanyama, number 1 pick in this year's draft. He is 7'4", officially listed, I think, on NBA.com. There were, in the modern NBA, there were also 2 other 7'4" plus centers drafted number 1. Tell me who they are, and bonus points for if you can tell me the draft.
Oh, dude, I don't know enough about the NBA in order to get the draft year, but was Yao Ming a number 1 pick?
Yes, he was.
So Yao Ming is 1. Oh, dude. So I know Yao Ming is 1. Shaq's only like 7'2", right?
Yeah, he's not 7'4".
I knew that. I don't even know why I asked that. 7'4", giant. Was it like Bull's dad? Did he get drafted first overall?
Manute Ball, he was tall, but he wasn't drafted number 1. You should be able to get this. If you're you're a college basketball head, you should know this.
College basketball head? Yeah, I'm a college basketball head since I was, 11 years old. I didn't pay attention to that before that. Was it some guy who was like really good in college but then didn't do anything in the NBA?
He was really, really good in college. Of course, drafted number 1 in the NBA. And I think injuries kind of derailed him.
Can I have the school?
See, if I tell you the school, you're going to get it. If I tell you the school, you 100% will get it.
Well, of course. That's the whole point. Because I watched a lot of college basketball. Can't remember the last giant. The last giant I know. God, dude. The guy that looks like a Neanderthal from Purdue right now.
Zach, what's his name? Like Eden or something, his name?
Yeah, Zach Edey.
Yeah.
There was Luka Garza, but he wasn't 7'4". Dude, 7'4". Oh, no, he wasn't picked in the first round. First overall pick. Gigantor.
Gigantic. Big boy.
Is he white?
No.
Okay. Well, that gets rid of a Duke player. Can't be a Duke player. Dude. Can I get the year?
That's going to give it away.
Dude, come on. Obviously, I don't know it. Was it Frank Kaminsky? No, you said he wasn't white. And Frank Kaminsky's not 7'4".
Nah, Frank is. Yeah, he's not that tall. He's tall. He ain't that tall, though.
Dude, 7'4" players. Dude, it's hard to tell who. It's hard to tell who's 7'4".
It's back in like back in the 80s.
Bro, I don't know anything about the 80s basketball. That's before my time. Wasn't even a thought my father's sperm at then.
All right, I'll give you the school, UVA.
Oh, that didn't help at all. I don't. I'm not. I'm from Virginia, but I'm pretty much anti-UVA. I hate UVA. I make fun of them all the time.
I'm pretty much the best player in UVA history.
That can't be so because Malcolm Brogdon's the best player in UVA history. So
this guy is way better than Malcolm Brogdon.
What are you talking about? Malcolm Brogdon has an NBA title, bro. I don't know it, bro. I don't know it. You're gonna tell me? Are you talking? Wait. Is it Did Moses Malone? No, Moses Malone wasn't that far back.
It didn't go to UVA either.
Oh, he's from Virginia though. Dude, I don't know. I got Yao Ming, bro. I got Yao Ming.
You got one. You got one. The second guy is Ralph Sampson.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know Ralph Sampson?
I know of Ralph Sampson, but I don't know Ralph Sampson.
Went to Harrisonburg.
Yo, okay, so you know Walter Payton, right?
Yeah.
But do you know Walter Payton?
I know he was running back for the Bears.
Okay, that's about it. We never watched like old film of him playing. At least I never did. But I know about his life because of watching Football Life on NFL Network. All right. So you did me dirty. You did me freaking dirty. I see it. I see you. You're just a hater. Who wanna watch me fail? But you're just my motivator now.
What you got for me?
All right. So, the last team, and you can guess the team and the player, but this is the last team to have 1,000 yards rusher in the NFL. And I'll give you a hint. It's on the NFC.
Wait, the last team to have 1,000-yard rusher?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
So in 2014, this team had 1,000-yard rusher. They've not had someone rush for 1,000 yards since 2014.
Oh, this team.
Yeah, and it's an NFC team.
If I had to guess, probably the Cardinals.
Mm-mm.
I was thinking David Johnson's probably the last one.
I'm not going to lie, though. You got the division right. I will help you out. I need the team, and then I need the player. Who do you think it is?
All right, so that's the NFC. Then the division with the not the Vikings, the 49ers, Cardinals. Who else? Seattle and
Rams.
It has to be the Rams. That's okay. So it's probably Todd Gurley Rams.
But that's just 2014.
Was that it?
Mm-mm. Todd Gurley wasn't around in 2014. And no, it's not the Rams.
He's old as fuck. What the fuck?
It's not the Rams.
So it's the 49ers.
Yeah, you got the 49ers right.
Okay, it's probably
2014 now.
Was it Gore?
Yeah. Since we're on the topic the last couple of days of running backs who get no love and everything. So, other teams who haven't had 1,000 yards rusher in like the last couple of years, I'll give you another one. 2015, also NFC, but NFC South. And the last time they had 1,000 yards rusher was in 2015.
Okay, NFC South.
So you have the Falcons, Panthers, Buccaneers, and Saints.
Okay, it's definitely Falcons, and it's probably what's that dude's name? Falcons, and it's Falcons, right?
Mm-mm. But I know you're so close because
because Algeria had 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, the last time that happened was Devontae Freeman in 2016. And I know you were thinking of Freeman.
I was thinking of Freeman.
So I mean, if you weigh your options of the Saints and the Panthers, do you think McCaffrey and Kamara at over 1,000? Then it only leaves you with.
It's probably Saints, right?
Kamara's on the Saints.
McCaffrey's definitely had a 1,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah, so it's the Buccaneers.
Oh, wait, Leonard, Lenny didn't have 1,000 yards. Damn. Okay, so Buccaneers. Who was back in 2015? Who was their running back?
Dude, I didn't even remember I didn't remember who it was once I read it.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you running back past Lenny on the Buccaneers. Yeah,
So
I think you got me on this one.
So it was Doug Martin.
Doug Martin. He was still playing in 2015.
Yeah. So
old ass.
So the oldest teams before last year to not have 1,000-yard rushers in a couple of seasons, it was the Jets. Still haven't had one. The Jets haven't had 1,000-yard rusher since 2015, and that was Chris Ivory.
Wow.
Before last year, because Miles Sanders got 1,000 yards, but before last year, the last Eagle to get 1,000 yards was McCoy. And then, last but not least, the oldest one before last year when Williams, Javon Williams or Javon Williams for Javonte Williams. In 2013, the Detroit Lions had this gentleman rush for 1,000 yards, and he was the last Lion to rush for 1,000 yards. One of the greatest college football careers. Reggie Bush.
Yeah, once you said Lions, I was like, it's probably Reggie.
Yeah, he was the last 1,000 yards rusher before last year, and Javonte Williams made it close. He got 1,026. So he cut it close, but
damn. That was a good one. Yeah, the Buccaneers one. Yeah, I've never gotten. I can't remember Doug Martin. But now that you said its name, yeah, that rings a bell a little bit.
But I mean, that was what I was thinking. Like, we were supposed to bring a trivia question in, and the fact that the San Francisco 49ers, after all these years, they haven't had 1,000-yard rusher since Frank Gore. Like that's crazy to me. So the closest one they've had was in 2016 with Carlos Hyde. He had 988. And then the second closest was Elijah Mitchell in 2021 with 963. Now, McCaffrey had 746, and he played half a season with them.
Played half the season, yeah.
But he probably would have had 1,000 if he played the whole season with them. Now, if you actually take his yardage he had with the Panthers and add it with the 49ers, he would have had 1,000. But it doesn't work that way. So
it's not worked that way.
So the 49ers haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Frank Gore and some other ones. You had the Cardinals right. David Johnson was the last one to have 1,000 yards in 2016.
Yeah.
The last Baltimore Raven to have 1,000 yards was Lamar Jackson.
Not a surprise.
So the last Kansas City Chief to have 1,000 yards was Kareem Hunt. So
thanks everyone for watching. Keep tuning in to our YouTube channel, MTL Sports Podcast, and on Spotify. And don't forget to check out our social medias on Twitter and TikTok at MTL Sports Pod. But other than that, this is the end for tonight's episode, and we out, y'all. Peace.